Hey guys, I'm back with another build, and in today's video I'm going to be building a spring Japanese home in Bloxburg, so let's get right into it. This build was actually a suggestion from Eld, so thank you for the build idea. It always helps a lot in finding something new to build whenever people suggest something. I started out with a floor plan, but I wouldn't copy the right side completely since I did decide to change the part on the right. It kind of sticks out from the build a little too much, so I fix it a little bit later. I was pretty happy in making this build since it's a new style and I always love trying out new types of architecture to switch things up. I've never really built in this style before, but it was pretty fun to try to find different images that work together and create a build that fit all the different pictures. I tried going for more of a Japanese house that you would see in a neighborhood, so I hope I was able to accomplish that. It reminds me of more something you would see in the city rather than the traditional countryside, because even in Japanese cities I saw plants and agriculture growing around the houses. I also thought that this would be a good build for spring, since you can include different colors like cherry blossoms in the trees and stuff like that. After building the main foundation though for the house, I made most of the roofs out of basic shapes, which wasn't too difficult as you can see here. I pretty much just made rectangles and I put two rectangles on top of each other so I could color the top one as the roof and then the bottom rectangle as wood with a different color. For the color scheme, I figured this out later and I don't really include it in the video, but this time I think I'm gonna include like a page with all the different textures and then the different colors, like the number codes for them. And if you need any inspiration for colors or textures or anything like that, you can just look at the page. I don't really know if that makes complete sense, but you'll know what I mean whenever I put it on the screen when I do the colors. Also, it's storming outside of my house right now, so I'm sorry if you can hear any of the rain in the background. I played around with the fences around the house and I kind of changed them up a little bit because I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. But I decided on going with modern fences surrounding the house, and then later I'm going to change the fences in front of the house to be basic shapes, which you'll see. Whenever I'm doing smaller builds, I also try to include smaller sections of the build that kind of stick out from the house, and you have to make these out of basic shapes, but I think they really help the builds look more 3D and less as just flat walls. So you can see that in the front of the house. While I'm starting on the windows, I wanted to keep the windows pretty rectangular and then open, since I was seeing that in a lot of the different pictures I was looking at. So I basically just started with plain rectangular windows and then I resized them, and then I attempted to use different structurals to actually make the windows. I don't usually do this too much for the last few builds that I've made. I've just used like preset windows and then added structurals to them to make them a little more 3D, but for this style I thought it would have been better to just make the windows from scratch since they're pretty simple. None of the preset windows matched the windows I was trying to go for. I also started adding some stones going on the left side of the house because I wanted to connect the front of the house to the back porch area in the back of the house, so that's why I started a little rock path leading on the side. And then here I'm starting on the doorway. I'm not sure why I made this as complicated as I did. I'm sure there's a bunch of different ways that you can make this a lot easier and better, but I would just kind of follow along and see what I'm doing. I don't really know how to explain it. I don't know what I was thinking making this, but it turned out pretty nice. But if you guys know an easier way to do whatever I was doing, then definitely go for it. I just wanted to make the door have windows around it and then kind of blend them all together with wooden structurals so they all look connected to each other. Here's where I put in pretty much most of the colors that I'm going with for the build, so here's the different textures that I used and then also the colors. And let me know if you guys like seeing them on a page together, because I think it helps instead of just watching me play through a bunch of colors and textures, since especially for me it takes a really long time trying to find a good color scheme for a build. You can see that the colors really bring the build to life, which is why I wanted to take a good amount of time finding a pretty good color scheme, which is pretty simple, but I wanted to nail it so it looked pretty nice whenever the build was finished. Which you can see here, the colors really do bring the build to life, so I wanted to make sure I spent some time on it finding a good color scheme that I was going for. After the colors though, here's where I start messing with the fencing along the front of the house. The preset fences were a little too tall for me, so that's why I wanted to just use basic shapes and then I could customize them the way that I wanted to. I also knew that I wanted to add some decal plants along the fencing, and sometimes it's difficult to do that on the pre-built fences, so that's another reason why I wanted to make sure I built the fences with basic shapes. I'm finally on spring break though, so I've been able to do a lot more building, and I have some new builds that I've been working on, including this one. I'm pretty excited whenever we have a break because that's when I can get a lot of building done, so you'll see those builds come out whenever I finish some commentaries for them. I'll usually finish a build and then it takes me a while to get to the commentaries because I usually don't have a plan going into most of my commentaries. For most of them, I'll usually have a list of some ideas to talk about and then just kind of go off talking about them, but nope, not today. So the commentary might be a little all over the place, but there's just not really too much going on right now. I've pretty much just been trying to catch up with everything that's been going on the last 2 weeks to prepare for the chaos before school ends. The last few weeks of school are always crazy. I think I have projects scheduled in pretty much all of my classes. I don't really mind projects though, I definitely prefer them over a large test any day. Studying for a test, I always procrastinate so bad, but at least for projects, I can get them done pretty quick. Really hoping the rest of the school year goes by quick too. Let me know if you guys are also almost done with school. I have some cool ideas for summer, so I'm excited to get a start on those as well. You can also see that I started on the gardening around the house, and it's nothing too complicated. I just did a simple dirt path along the concrete, and then I did a smaller pebble outline around the dirt. And I basically just wanted to have that for the plants and the decals that'll come later. And after the gardening, I saw this in a lot of different pictures I was looking at, but they had a lot of rectangular or square wooden shutters, so I knew I wanted to implement those into the build. I made one on the top section, which I originally was going to copy onto the bottom section, but I had to remake it since the window on the bottom didn't really fit the window on the top. And then I made another window on the right side similar to the one I made before, and this window I was going to use around the rest of the build. So you can see me making it and then duplicating it around the house. And then to add some more dimension to the build, I added some stones on the bottom using basic shapes to outline the bottom of the house, and then I added a wall trim on top of that, and I made this a wood texture since I thought it complemented the stone pretty well, and I just wrapped that around the house like I did with the stone at the bottom. That's pretty much it for the commentary, so I'm gonna jump right into the tour. I'm really happy with how this build turned out, and I think it fits the spring theme pretty well. I like how the front of the build connects to the back through the side pathway that I made, and then they have the little porch area in the back. And thank you again to Eld for the suggestion. If you guys ever have any ideas or suggestions for me to build, then definitely let me know because it always helps. And that's about it, so I hope you guys enjoyed.